Welcome guys to say on Busy Lady TV channel once again, the best math channel in Ghana and beyond. So we are moving on to our lesson on the trig, and this is the fourth lesson we are going to have on trig. So today's own, we are going to look at the values of the trig ratios in each of the quadrants when the Cartesian plane is drawn with the circle around it. Now I've mentioned quadrant. Now this is what I mean. We know this is a normal Cartesian plane. So I use the unit circle when I was teaching the proof of the cos 90 and the rest in my previous video. Now, this is a quadrant. One portion of the Cartesian plane in trig, we call it a quadrant. And we have told you that we measure it anti-clockwise. So from zero, this side from zero here to this side give us 90 degrees. Then from here to here give us 180 degrees. Then from here back here give us 270. Then back to this side give us 360 degrees. And in our normal Cartesian plane, we know the x-axis and the y-axis. We know it. Now, how do we remember? There's a principle we used to remember. Yes, there's a principle we used to remember this. We call the cast. C-A-S-T. Now, what do you mean by that? We mean that at this quadrant, all the ratios are positive. In this quadrant, only sine is positive. In this quadrant, only tan is positive. In this quadrant, only cos is positive. Now, why am I saying that? I'm going to prove that. Now, with this, I will know that our x-axis is positive. L like this on the Cartesian plane, x is positive, then y2 is positive. Now, let's look at something. So, normally we consider the angle formed with the x-axis. So the angle formed with the x-axis. So, let's say I have this, and this is my theta. So, this is my x-axis, this becomes my y-axis. So, let's say I'm looking for sine theta. Sine theta here. Sine is opposite. So opposite, get a positive answer. So sine is positive here. And if I'm looking for cos theta, cos is adjacent, x over hypotenuse, which is z, which is also going to give me a positive answer. Then I have tan theta. So tan. So the angle formed with the x-axis is what I've demonstrated for sine. Sine theta will be the y, which is opposite, then over the hypotenuse. So we get a positive. The same for cos theta. So x, which is adjacent, then over hypotenuse, we get a positive. Then tan. Now tan 2 is going to be opposite over the adjacent, which is x, for which they are all positive. So that's why at this side, all the trig ratios are positive. Yes, so when you click on, or when you punch tan 40 on the calculator, you are going to get a positive answer. Yes, because it is within the first quadrant. So from here to here, any angle from 0 to 90 is within the first quadrant. Any angle from 91 to 180 is within the second quadrant. And from 181 degrees to 270 is within the third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant from 271 up to 360. So you have to understand each of the angles. So if I give you maybe sine 285, where will it be? It will fall within which quadrant? It will fall within this quadrant. Yes, it will fall within this quadrant. So you have to know that. So now, why is here only sine positive here? Why is only sine positive here? Now, let's say that I have this, the angle formed with the x-axis. So, let's say here is theta. Here's my x, here's my y, and my z is here. And we know that here, the x coordinate here is negative, and the y coordinate here is what? Is positive. So, if I'm looking for sine theta, sine is still my opposite, positive y. Then hypotenuse z. Now I use sign. So you see positive and hypotenuse is always positive. So here I'm going to get a positive answer. That's the sign. So here only sign is positive. Now let me use cos. Cos is what? Adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent. Negative x over the hypotenuse positive y. You know I'm going to get a negative value. That is why here cos is also what? Negative. But sine is what? Positive. Now let me go to tan. Tan is my opposite over adjacent. Opposite. Positive y. So tan y is positive. So tan y, that is the opposite over the adjacent, negative x. So for which when I divide, I'm going to get a negative value. So here you can see that only sign was positive. So the cast principle, here all is positive, sign, only sign is positive here. Now, let's come here. So an angle, the angle formed with the x-axis. So let's say here is theta. Now, here, what is our x here? Our x here is negative. And our y here too is negative. Yes, x is negative, y here is negative. So let's say sine theta here. Sine theta at this side. So sine, which is opposite, negative y over the hypotenuse, z. So this one is always positive. Always positive. The hypotenuse is always positive. So if I write the z, I'm going to get a negative answer. Cos theta. So cos is adjacent, negative x over the hypotenuse, which is z, for which I'm also going to get a negative answer. Now tan. Tan is opposite, negative. So tan. My tan is my opposite, negative y over adjacent, negative x, for which it will cancel to give me positive. So that's why here only tan 2 is positive. So the same as this side. So the angle formed with the x-axis. The angle formed with the x-axis. And here the x-axis is positive. The x-axis here is positive. And the y-axis here is negative. So when you use the same principle, you are going to get the same thing. Yes, when you are going to use the same principle, you are going to get the same thing. So this is how the cast help us to remember why this side, any angle within 90 degrees, all are positive. Within 90 and 180, only sine is positive. Within this side, only tan is positive, and within this side, only cos is what? Is positive. Now, I'm going to give you an angle values for the unit circle, how we can calculate for it. So, I'm going to do that with the same principle. So here is 0 and 360. So theta, so any angle here is positive here. Now if you want to know the angle here, if you want to know the angle here, which is 90 degrees, so here 80, 270, and here 360. So this side is 180 minus any angle given to you. Yes. So, and here too is the angle minus 180 if the angle falls within the third quadrant. And here too, it is 360 minus any angle given to you. So, this is because if you are being given an angle like maybe 160. So, 160 means from 0 here to this side. So we will look for the small angle the angle makes with the x-axis. That's why we subtract this small angle from the 180. And the same way, if you are looking for an angle like, let's say, 240. So 240 means from 0 here to this side. So we look for the angle it makes with the x-axis. Yeah, that's why we subtract that angle from also 180 degrees, the same as here. So here too, if they give you maybe 285, 285 means we are going to find a small angle. So from here up to this side, so we find a small angle it makes with the x-axis. Okay, that's why we subtract also this angle here if you are looking for it from 360 to get our angle. So we are going to take a question. So here we are going to solve questions involving using this principle to know the answers we are going to get using the main trig ratios. So we are going to take question on that. First question is posted on the screen. It says find cos 210, leaving your answer in Z. So cos 210. And I've told you. So cos 210 will fall within which of the quadrants? So you can just draw to know. So it will fall within 4. This is 90. Then here is 180. So cos 210 will fall within this quadrant. So the angle it forms here. So how do you find cos 210? So cos is going to be now, and this one in the third quadrant, it is the angle here minus 180 degrees. So it is the theta, which is any angle minus 180 degrees. So we have 210 minus 180 degrees. So 210 minus 180 degrees, what answer is it going to give us? So you can just point your calculator. So 180, so we have 0, here's 11, so 3. So it's going to give us 30 degrees. Now, let's look here. Now, we have to know that 30 degrees, here, you are saying all the angles are positive. Only cos is positive here, then here only sine is positive, and here only tan is positive. Then it means that the 30 degrees is going to be negative cos 30 degrees. Negative cos 30 degrees. And I didn't clean this table because they said we will leave our answer in Z form. So negative 30 degrees on the calculator, or using this one, cos. So will give us negative root 3 over 2. And this negative root 2 over 2. So negative cos 30 is also the same as cos 210. When you punch cos 210, the answer will give you this. And when you put negative cos 30, it's going to give you this. So using the angle to prove that. So that's what you need to understand. Yes, that's what you need to understand. So you follow the previous lessons, follow how the quadrant angles are used, then you are going to understand, you are good to go. So we are taking the next question on this. So the second question posted on the screen says find sine 215, leaving your answer in Z form. So this one is sine 315. Sine 315. Now with our rough sketch here, from here 90, 180, so 350, you know, it's going to fall within the fourth quadrant, and the fourth quadrant is 360 minus the angle given. So 360 minus theta, which is the angle given. So we have 360 minus 315 degrees, which will give us 45. Now we've gotten 45, and they say we should find sine 315, for which we have used this one to get the 45. So now 45, you say here all is cos, only cos is positive, and now we are looking for sine. So this one will be here, because it is sine will be negative. So it is negative sine 45, for which sine 45 we know it to be, the answer is going to give us negative root 2 over 2. Negative root 2 over 2. This is the reason when you punch sine 315, it gives you straight answer. So sine 315 is the same as negative sine 45. This is the reason why. So sine 315 is going to the same as negative sine 45. So we can leave our answer in set form. So this is our final answer. So we are taking the third question, which is the last question. So the third question on the screen says we should find, without using tables or calculators, tan 240 tan 240 degrees. Tan 240 degrees. Now, tan 240 will fall within which quadrant? So this is the first, second, so it will fall within the third quadrant. And when you are using the cast, tan is positive here. And this side too, it is the angle minus 180. So in the third quadrant, the angle minus 180 degrees. So here is going to be 240 minus 180 degrees, for which is going to give us 60. Now, this small angle formed with the x-axis will be 60. So therefore, because it is tan, and here tan is positive, we are going to have tan 60. Tan is positive here, tan 60. So tan 60 will give us root 3. And what you have to understand is that tan 60 is the same as tan 240. So tan 240 is the same as tan 60, for which we get the same answer. So when you say without using tables or calculators, so this is a proof of how we solve such question. So this brings us to the end of today's lesson as well. Now watch out for another part on trig, which involves solving certain questions, past questions on the trig ratio. Until we meet again, say goodbye and don't forget to subscribe to the best maths channel in Ghana and beyond. So bye bye for now.